It was supposed to be a simple evening, an office party to celebrate another successful quarter at the firm. My husband, David, was the head of finance at Norvale Holdings, one of the largest real estate companies in the city. He'd been working there for 5 years, climbing the corporate ladder one report at a time. I had attended a few of these gatherings before, mostly standing in the background, sipping watered-down fruit punch, trying not to look out of place. But this time, things would be different. I am Aisha Banjo, 37. A graduate of Harvard Business School. The founder and silent CEO of Tech Matters Africa, a growing AI and digital solutions firm with roots in Lagos and offices in Nairobi, Accra, and now Johannesburg. I say silent CEO because when I married David, he insisted we keep my professional life private, which really meant hidden. He came from a traditional Nigerian family where a man was the breadwinner and the woman was expected to support him quietly. No lights. No applause. And so I allowed myself to shrink, at least in his world. That morning, before we left for the office party, David was tense. He kept fixing his tie in the mirror and glancing at his watch. "Don't wear anything too flashy," he said flatly, without turning. "It's my boss's event, not yours." I paused. "What does that mean?" He looked at me finally. "It means tonight, just stay in the background. Don't talk too much. Just mingle a bit with the other wives, okay? No need for all that business talk you like." It was the way he said all that business talk that stung. Like my world didn't matter. Like everything I'd built was a hobby he tolerated. Still, I smiled and said nothing. When we arrived at the banquet hall, the place was already buzzing. Suits, high heels, the clink of wine glasses, the sparkle of chandeliers. David disappeared almost instantly into a group of coworkers near the bar. I hovered at the entrance, alone. Then came the final blow. "Hey babe," David called over his shoulder, holding a platter of canapés. "Why don't you help the catering staff? The kitchen's right there." He pointed toward a side door. "You're good at that stuff." There was laughter around him, low, dismissive. I stood frozen. Did he just delegate me to the kitchen like I was one of the staff? In front of his colleagues? I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I turned slowly, walked toward the kitchen, but not to help anyone. I just needed to breathe. To collect myself. I sat on a steel counter, away from the noise, trying to swallow the humiliation. That's when I noticed her. A tall woman in a sleek red dress, possibly in her 50s. She wasn't cooking or serving, but she was speaking to the kitchen manager. Her posture screamed confidence. She caught my eye, smiled politely, and said, "Too loud out there?" I nodded, trying to keep composed. Just needed a break. She extended her hand. Amara Al-Yamid. My heart skipped. That name was familiar. "You're the chairwoman of Norvale Holdings," I blurted, shocked. She laughed. "Guilty." "And you are?" I hesitated, then offered my hand. "Aisha Banjo." She tilted her head slightly. "Banjo? Any relation to David Banjo from finance?" I smiled. "His wife." There was a brief pause. She studied me more intently. "Ah. You're the Aisha Banjo who founded Tech Matters Africa." Now it was my turn to be shocked. "How do you know that?" She chuckled. "I don't live under a rock, dear. I've followed your company's trajectory since you rolled out the medical AI diagnostics program in Ghana. Impressive work. Especially in such a male-dominated field." My throat tightened. "Thank you." She leaned casually against the counter. "So why were you hiding in the kitchen?" I hesitated. I could have lied. But something about her gaze compelled honesty. "My husband asked me to stay out of the spotlight tonight." He thought it would be better if I didn't speak too much. Amara's eyes narrowed. "Ah," she said with a cold smile. "Typical." She straightened. "You'll be joining me outside in a moment. I'm about to give my speech, and I'd like you to speak right after me." I blinked. "Me?" "Yes. I'm announcing Norvale's digital transition initiative tonight. We've just approved a multi-million naira budget for regional partnerships in digital solutions. I want you to introduce the program. You know more about the tech landscape here than any of my staff." I wasn't prepared to speak. She waved a hand. "You don't need preparation. Just speak from the place you built your empire from." She left before I could argue. I stood alone for a moment, stunned. The kitchen that once felt like a place of shame now felt like the beginning of something different. Back in the hall, Amara took the stage. Her presence silenced the room instantly. "Tonight," she began, "we celebrate growth, progress, and resilience. But more importantly, we celebrate vision." She continued with flair, announcing Norvale's new Digital Innovation Fund, and then added, "To launch this ambitious chapter, I would like to invite someone whose work has already transformed healthcare and logistics across Africa. Please welcome Tech Matters Africa's founder and CEO, Aisha Banjo." The room gasped. I stepped onto the stage, heels clicking against polished wood. I felt their eyes, David's wide in disbelief, his bosses intrigued, the rest whispering, stunned. I took the microphone with steady hands. "Good evening," I began, my voice echoing calmly. "Sometimes, you're asked to stay in the kitchen. But even from a kitchen, a vision can be born. A woman can build. Create. Lead." There were murmurs, then applause. I talked briefly about Tech Matters' journey, our struggles, our breakthroughs, our vision to digitize Africa's future from the inside out. I ended with a message to the young women watching, the ones told to be silent. Sometimes your silence isn't weakness, it's patience. Waiting for the right moment to speak. And when that moment comes, speak with your whole chest. The applause was thunderous. David didn't clap. After the speech, people flooded to me, handshakes, business cards, praise. Amara stood behind me, beaming. "You just changed the tone of this entire company," she said. David approached an hour later, face tight. "You embarrassed me," he hissed through clenched teeth. "No," I said, calmly. "You embarrassed yourself. I just told the truth." He looked lost for words. We drove home in silence. The fallout from that evening was swift and brutal. At first, David tried to act like nothing had changed. But something in our home had shifted. I no longer deferred. I no longer whispered. He was forced to face the reality: the woman he kept in the kitchen had built an empire while he was busy polishing spreadsheets. Days later, Amara emailed. Norvale wanted to partner officially with Tech Matters to launch a digital operations framework across their African branches. I would lead the team. David got called into his supervisor's office. Rumors swirled. Was his wife the one pulling the strings now? In bed one night, he asked, "Are you trying to ruin me?" I turned to him. "Why does my success mean your failure?" He had no answer. Within weeks, the cracks in our marriage became canyons. He began sleeping at his office more often. One night, I found a text on his phone from another woman. A coworker. The one who had laughed when he sent me to the kitchen. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply told him to leave. And he did. A year later, I stood on the same stage again, this time not as a guest, but as Norvale's keynote partner at their regional summit. I looked out into a sea of faces, young men and women, entrepreneurs, policymakers. I spoke again, not about revenge, but about recognition. I was told to stay in the kitchen, I said. But the fire I found there didn't burn me. It built me. People clapped. Some stood. And among them, I noticed David, now older, tired, seated alone in the back. I nodded slightly. No malice. No bitterness. After the event, I found him outside near the fountain. You look different, he said. I am. He sighed. I didn't know you had all that inside you. I smiled sadly. That was the problem. You never tried to find out. He apologized, quietly, genuinely. And I accepted it. But not for him. For me. This story isn't just about a party or a stage. It's about what happens when you stop hiding your light to make others comfortable. It's about refusing to be boxed by tradition or fear or the fragile egos of others. If someone tells you to stay in the kitchen, ask yourself, is it because they can't stand the heat of your brilliance? Let them burn. And you? You build. Let your fire cook visions. Let it bake revolutions. And when the time comes, speak. Because sometimes, silence is the loudest scream of power.